All right, welcome to the Saturday Morning Nerd Show. I'm your host, Marcus Blake, and join with me, as always, the Brewing Sailor, Brendan Smith,
Hello, nerds.
and from the Electric Jellyfish Podcast, Mr. Chad Womack.
Salutations, folks.
Happy New Year, a little bit late. This is our first show of 2023. We didn't have a show in January because there wasn't much really going on. So we're back. There's more stuff happening. And we are going to take a quick look back at 2022. If you checked out our end of the year magazine issue in December, you could see all the things that, our top 10 list of movies, TV shows, and, video games. Give you a brief rundown of that. Yes, Top Gun Maverick ended up being our favorite movie of 2022, without a doubt. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I mean, granted, artistic films have a place, and they should definitely win, awards and get more coverage than they usually do. And I'm pretty sure Everything, Everywhere, All at Once will win. Gets this year's darling, and it's a great movie. But there's a part of me that just really wants Top Gun Maverick to win.
Just dark horse its way up there to the podium.
Yeah, just to throw it at that. You can have a really great popular movie that has a lot of nostalgia and connection to the original, and it's just a fun fucking movie.
You know what's funny about that is I actually can see it winning because it's the exact kind of thing that the Academy would do to be like, yeah, we're cool, we're hip, we're with it, we understand what the young people like.
All right, Dr. Evil.
Yeah, like seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
and really, honestly, Everything Everywhere All at Once probably should win, which is another reason why the Academy will screw it up.
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's I'm pretty sure the picks are in, and if I hear one more comment about how Austin Butler should win Best Picture over Brendan Fraser for The Whale, I'm going to punch somebody in the face. And I'm not saying anything that he didn't do a good job playing Elvis. But there's other people who have played Elvis and I think did a better job, and just Brendan Fraser did an absolute amazing job. But
Honestly, there's about 700 people playing Elvis in Vegas at any one time.
yeah,
It's not that big of a deal anymore. It just isn't. It's just like how many Elvis biopics have we had now?
yeah.
Not that many. No, really, honestly, not that many. I
Well,
think you
all I'm saying is Brendan Fraser was amazing, and the Academy will probably somehow screw that up. But screw him out of the Best Picture. But yeah, I'm for Top Gun Maverick. Just go ahead and give them Best Picture, just for the fucking hell of it, and because it is the movie that brought us back to the theaters. I mean, we all saw it more than once in the theater. It was the first true summer blockbuster that everybody enjoyed since the pandemic.
There are only two movies I saw in the theater twice this year: Top Gun Maverick and Violent Night.
Yeah.
And that's because I had to see John Leguizamo get killed magically up a chimney a second time.
Well, and of course, our favorite TV show was House of the Dragon, without a doubt. There was no denying. Stranger Things, I think, came in second, but House of the Dragon, we just all gushed over that first season. And
Personally, I put Cobra Kai in second, but that's just me.
well, I know it was. I mean, the top three was House of the Dragon, Cobra Kai, and Stranger Things. But ironically enough, Rings of Power did not get one vote on our top 10. Not at all.
Okay.
So, and God of
Might have
War
been number one on not top 10, though.
number one at the bottom 10.
Did end up being our game of the year. And at this point, I mean, who knows with all the great games that are going to be coming out this year. I think this year is going to be, we're going to have a hard time voting this year, which I'm looking forward to.
Finally, the next generation becomes the current generation and actually starts pumping out good games. I mean, yeah, we've had a smattering of good games,
Right.
but I mean, come on, we're into what, the third year of this generation,
I
maybe
know.
fourth year.
No,
I guess
this will be the third year. I
their
mean,
full year.
fall of 2020 is when they released the Series X and the PlayStation 5, and now they're already giving a date of when they're going to release the PlayStation 6. I'm like,
You haven't released anything for the 5 yet. You've released God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn. That's it.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, EA Sports games don't count.
No.
Hey, you need to wait about 6 years to even start considering that, but that's beside the point.
I gotta say this because it's the only thing I can focus on right now. And once I say this, no one's gonna be able to unsee it. But Brendan, with the way you're sitting and with how your logo is situated, you're giving off serious Johnny Bravo vibes right now.
Man, I'm pretty.
It's all I can see.
Wow, thank you, Chad.
You're not the first person to say that too.
Okay. So it's not just me. Okay.
Yes. All right then.
The whole time I've been sitting there going like, why is he rocking the Johnny Bravo hair? I'm like, oh, okay, never mind.
Oh,
Is that better for you?
Do the monkey with it. That's all I can freaking hear.
Man, I'm pretty.
and now
Hey, mama.
it's going to be like, what were they talking about? I fixated on that. Thanks, Chad.
I couldn't unsee it. I had to get it out. It was like an earworm. You got to share it.
Well, speaking of stuff that's coming out in 2023, we already have a couple of big announcements. First thing is they did finally announce that Cobra Kai Season 6 is coming out, and it will be the final season. I'm glad that they're kind of doing the right thing and going out with a bang and saying we're going to do one all-out great last season, because you've kind of wrapped up all the storylines and brought everybody together. There isn't much more you can do. But
yeah, if they go beyond this one big international tournament, it's just like, okay, you've now jumped the shark.
Milked it for all it's worth, and it's going to be. You know what it'll be? It'll be Castle Season 8 and X-Files Season 9.
Look, let's put it this way. Even doing the big international kids karate tournament, you're kind of on the shark's back right now.
Yeah.
Like I still
You're crane kicking the shark at this point.
I still think you might be grappling it, you might be putting it in a rear naked choke. You haven't jumped it yet. So
right. But you are right there.
You're on the edge.
Quint is fighting off that shark, and but no, I mean, it is the right thing to do to really, go out with the way they set it up with, to hit the international scene. And there's just the little things that you can wrap up with the multiple styles and, your good versus evil and all your metaphors. And the only thing is, if this is the one way you can totally screw it up. I mean, I'm sure there's many ways, but for me, there's one important way. If you don't somehow bring back Hilary Swank, it just in some kind of cameo. I mean, she's the final cameo that we really need in the karate.
Do we?
Do we honestly think that this is really it for this franchise?
For the franchise, no. For the show, yes.
For the show, yes. Okay.
Yeah, they've already talked about offshoots and
there's no way they're killing this thing off. It's making it.
No. And it'll be one of those things where the other characters will pop in and out here and there.
And I'm good with that.
I mean, you've established multiple generations. There will always, be villains, and I think once you establish the international, them on the international stage, there's plenty of stories that you can go with. But anyway.
It's okay. I think it's leaving right at the right time, because it's leaving just in time for Frasier to come back. And I'm actually really excited about that. Like he's going back to Boston. I'm excited about this. I want to see where it goes.
Yeah. I'll be honest too. I mean, I don't know how many of them that you would get back from the original Cheers cast, but if that would be a great fucking episode, if he just walked in and they were all there. So
it's going to be kind of bittersweet though, after just losing Kirstie Alley though.
Well, true. But I mean, you don't really need her so much, because I mean, her story did end with she got married to Tom Berenger, who was Waste Management, if I'm correct.
I forget. It's been so long ago.
Jesus, this year is literally the 30th anniversary
of the Cheers finale.
Yeah. Also, um, in case we are not doing a podcast, and we probably won't in the next couple of weeks just because there's a lot going on. But February 28th is another momentous anniversary in TV history. It will be the official 40th anniversary of the MASH final episode.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And still, to this day, the highest viewed episode of TV. No one has beaten it. Some things have kind of come close, but...
And it never will, because there are now 18 million channels in streaming.
Yeah.
And so nothing ever will, because back then it was the biggest show when there were 3.5 networks of television.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, all right. Mandalorian season 3 is coming out, and we are less than 3 weeks away, which is awesome. And so that's, we've got that, and we are a few months away from Ahsoka.
Probably over the summer. I would think that would probably be like, because Mando's going to be 8 episodes, right? So that's going to take us. That's going to take us through all of March and all of April. They're not going to have anything drop in May, because you're going to have Celebration at the end of May.
Yeah.
So Ahsoka earliest June, probably June or July.
Yeah. So I mean,
and that's if and I'm assuming Ahsoka is going to come out before Skeleton Crew. I don't know that.
Ahsoka drops March 12th. It's going to be on a Sunday.
So what?
No,
what it says.
From when? Like, that might be really old info, because
yeah, we got
It says series premiere Sunday, March 12th on IMDb, unless IMDb's got their facts wrong.
IMDb's got their facts wrong. There's no way it's releasing 12 days after Mando. They're not going to overlap them. Yeah, okay. We can expect Ahsoka and other. Okay, so movies.net has it in August 2023. So I was saying summer, so that's still.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, Disney Plus has never allowed shows to overlap like that.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. I can't believe they got
that. That's you know what that's from? That's from when they still thought Mando was coming out in December of this past year.
Probably
that's what that is, and it hasn't been updated.
Well, so another great thing to look forward to. All right, a couple of quick reviews of just stuff that's kind of come out and that we've covered. The first one, if you want your typical Gerard Butler action thriller where he saves everyone, check out Plane. It is actually on premium demand right now.
I've actually heard really good things about it too. I haven't had a chance to see it, and it's got the gentleman who played Luke Cage. I forget.
Mike,
thank you. Who's also very good in Evil too, by the way, on Paramount.
I am behind a couple. I'm actually behind a couple of seasons. I've only seen the first season of Evil, but I did enjoy it.
I haven't seen season 3, but season 2 is really good. I gotta sit down and watch season 3.
So, I mean, it's his production company, so it's pretty much in the same format as the London Has Fallen, Angel Has Fallen, and White House Has Fallen. All of those type of movies where he basically has to rescue everybody from hostages. It was entertaining. For what it is, there's nothing new about it. We've seen it before, but he was good. And
they're kind of like throwback movies to like the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 90s action movie stars.
Yeah. Well,
back when Sly and Bruce Willis and Arnold were still in their heyday.
This reeks of Passenger 57 vibes and shit.
See, that's the thing. It's like I'm not criticizing that we've seen this before. We know what the formula is.
I'm not criticizing it. I was saying that as a positive.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't gravitate to the same kind of formula, we wouldn't be on Mission Impossible 7 or the next Fast and the Furious movie.
God, I'm really looking forward to that series to end. I hope this is it.
I am not ashamed to say, as a professional critic, that I did a 100-word review for our magazine a year and a half ago of Fast and the Furious 9, and somebody commented, "Wow, you really nailed what that movie was about." I'm sure I did, because even though I never saw it. What? look, it's the same formula. Things will blow up, car chases. Dom will reconcile with the bad guy of some sort. They brought somebody back from the dead, and it'll all end with
Family.
Family.
he doesn't have friends, he has family. And it will literally, and I'm like, I don't even need to see the movie to know that it will literally end with them doing a cookout at the original house.
And here's the things, like I enjoyed the first Fast and the Furious,
Mhm.
but you also have to take into context that movie came out 22 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was 21.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe 22. Yeah, I don't give a shit anymore. This is not. I'm sorry, but I am not like a NOS gearhead to where I give a shit about cars so much that I'm going to keep watching this series for 20 something years. This is not a cultural touchstone for me like Star Wars or Star Trek, or even, less people know it, but to me, Babylon 5. And I get it. This is Star Wars for car heads. Cool. All you.
Right. But
I checked out 18 years ago.
At some point, you have to explain to me how a bunch of car thieves became super agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they don't.
Go through the training, and it just,
no, Marcus, they don't, and they won't. And honestly, I don't think they should.
No. I liked 4 and 5. When they broke Dom out and they were kind of on the run. Good. But after that, I checked out. I'm like, I'm done. Oh, Letty.
Put it this way: if they ever explain it, it'll probably because they got Rian Johnson to direct it, and it'll piss off half the fandom.
Damn.
Hey, I'll be honest.
By the way,
I was done when they killed Gal Gadot.
I'm gonna rant on him for a second, because I know everybody's giving him a handy over Knives Out and Glass Onion. I have never seen two more predictable murder mystery movies in my life. Here is the grand key, folks. The rich white man did it.
Look, not everybody is in the same camp that he's absolutely horrible and stuff. I mean, I love Looper. I think that's still a great movie, and Brick still holds up today.
I'll say this: I don't think he's a horrible filmmaker. I don't think he's nearly as good as people say he is. And I think he was the absolute horrifically wrong choice to have anything to do with Star Wars because of things he has said in the past. Like, I'd rather make a movie that divides a audience than unites one. Well, you don't want that in a freaking,
no, not for what they were trying to do. Right. Exactly. I don't disagree with that. Not rehashing The Last Jedi or anything, but I will agree with that. You had two very polar opposites with two different, very, very different visions of where that story was going to go. And you still couldn't even have a clear vision of where the story was going to go for the sequel trilogy. Unlike the two guys that we absolutely love that has a clear vision and tell wonderful stories. So, Favreau and Filoni, it's like, I don't even really want to watch anything unless their names are attached to it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like, I mean, we'll watch The Acolyte. Obviously, we're going to check it out, but you're always a little apprehensive when it's not them behind it. So,
let's see. Do I got Favreau, who kickstarted the MCU and created the DeLorean, and Filoni, who kept Star Wars alive through the dark times? Or do I want to watch something from Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant?
Damn. Shit.
That might be harsh. It's also true.
We call it like we see it. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody who doesn't start out, doing grunt work in Hollywood, but stay in the lane of what you want to do. And his new series that he has on Peacock, we haven't had a chance to check it out. It looks interesting, and it might be good, and it might be right up his alley as a filmmaker. But you're kind of like Channing Tatum. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad at what you do. You just are either miscast or the wrong person to helm nerd properties.
Yeah, you're just very one-dimensional.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me one time why I ragged on Channing Tatum so much. I'm like, I have nothing against Channing Tatum. I have enjoyed some of his stuff, like the dog movie. I finally got around to watching it and was teary-eyed and everything, and I thought he was great. I loved him in Lost in Trans. No, not the thing that he did with Sandra Bullock. He was great in that, and it was very much a throwback to Romancing the Stone.
Oh, the Lost Island or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, but you should never be in a nerd movie, sci-fi or anything like that. And you were absolutely horribly cast in a G.I. Joe movie. And also, fuck you to the idiots that tried to rebrand 21 Jump Street into some goofball. Like, I don't even want to go there because that's pissing on my childhood, when it came to the original show. And I loved the original show. So it's just stay in your lane of what you're good at. And that's what Rian Johnson should do. But yeah, it is kind of predictable when you make movies that it's the rich white man who's jealous and upset. And just, anyway. Okay. So yeah, if you haven't had a chance to see Plane, check it out. It is actually entertaining. And while it's sometimes, it's kind of on the cuff of things we cover and sometimes we don't. 80 for Brady, if basically it's Golden Girls who love football. When I did the review of that movie, really the worst parts of the movie are Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski trying to act. However, yeah.
The sad thing that's probably just Gronk. Like he doesn't act; he just is Gronk, and
he reacts.
Off of a football field. Gronky is annoying.
But at the same time, it was funny because you had four great comedic actresses, coming together for like a modern day version of the Golden Girls. And I don't care whether you like Jane Fonda, her politics, or any of them personally. They're funny together as actresses, and anything with Lily Tomlin, I will watch. So, but and this is for Brendan. Again, I told you the other night, don't spend money on this movie. It's not worth.
Don't worry, I won't.
Yeah. But just when you're kind of bored one afternoon, and as a Patriots fan, you should watch it.
I just wanted to calm your nerves there and let you know that your warnings have not fallen on deaf ears. These ears were very receptive to that message long before you thought it.
The scenes of the actual game, of that actual Super Bowl that they mixed in with the movie, the replays and stuff like that, that was phenomenal. Really great footage. And for Brendan, that gives you a chance to relive the greatest Super Bowl in for you, with the way they came back. And we all remember the drunken videos on Facebook, which, no one's criticizing, because I have those same kind of videos when the Cubs finally won the World Series. And they are the reason that I will never be able to run for public office, on top of many other reasons, unless I was running as an alderman in the city of Chicago. But anyway.
Then it'll help get you elected.
Pretty much. On the north side. It was an entertaining movie. I would probably never watch it again, but I did laugh. That's all I'll say about that. Now, getting to some games, I have one question. Brendan, has your wife let you play Hogwarts Legacy yet?
No.
That was kind of a rhetorical question, but I just thought I would ask.
No, and normally too, she'll play a game until she gets stuck, and then like the controller will come flying at me, and the unspoken do this. Even in those areas where she's getting stuck, she won't hand over the controller. She's determined to finish this game on her own.
And
I respect it. I do. I it's nice to see from her, honestly. I will actually dive into it probably tomorrow morning because I messed up my foot so bad. There's a solid chance I'm not going to work tomorrow if I wake up and it's the size of a grapefruit. Because I've suffered for it the last 2 days and I was in so much pain by the end of the day. I was just like, no.
Yeah,
Uh,
I wouldn't either. I would, yeah.
so I'm gonna be on the couch with my feet up, icing my foot down.
And that,
So I'm gonna dive into the early stages of it. And I've been trying really hard not to pay attention when she plays because I don't want to ruin the entire story for myself. But I will say this: aside from some minor technical glitches, which I have a sneaky suspicion will get fixed tomorrow when the day one patch hits, um, the combat looks fantastic. I love the combos that you can throw together. Um, the open world is really nice. Honestly, this is the fan experience. I'm not the big Harry Potter fan that my wife is. I like it, but I came to it very late. Like, the books came
yeah,
out while I was in the Navy. I had no idea what they were. So um, I'm not the fan of it that my wife is, but this is the kind of fan experience that I would like to see in a Dungeons and Dragons game. And I know we're getting Baldur's Gate 3 later this year, but that's still really very much an updated version of the old style of games from the late 90s. And while I'm really looking forward to it and I can't wait to play it, I would love if the next game Avalanche Studios did a take on Dungeons and Dragons and set a game in Waterdeep,
right.
the biggest city in Faerun or something along those lines. I think that would be fantastic. Like to be able
Right.
to play a Dungeons and Dragons game made by those guys in a big open world setting, that would be pretty special, I think.
Well, and here's the thing to, for if you're wondering why we're talking about Hogwarts Legacy, yes, it's the big game. It's the first really big game that has been released this year. I don't really count Forspoken because I don't really trust Square Enix to really do a great kind of
And
medieval
and,
RPG.
and that was also a big mess.
Yeah. Um, that's going to be one of those games that I will check out later in the year when they have dropped many updates to try to fix some of the shit, and the game is also cheap.
Okay,
So,
put it this way. For folks who aren't familiar with the game Forspoken, on Metacritic, it is currently enjoying a critic score of 65 and a user score of 3.4.
Yikes.
That's out of 10, not 5, out of 10.
Yikes. That ain't
yeah,
good.
that's some critics getting paid to give it some good reviews, and that's also critics looking at. Well, it's a great concept, yeah, but we don't grade on concepts. We
Yeah.
recognize it's a great concept, but we also grade on gameplay. So yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is the true big game that got released, and I'm glad it got released at this point because we don't really have anything major coming out. I mean, Atomic Heart will come out in a couple of weeks, and
Jedi Survivor shortly after that.
no, actually, Jedi Survivor got pushed.
April.
So, but you have the remake of Resident Evil 4. So they're
Well,
kind of spreading out these games a little bit. You have plenty of time to really dive into Hogwarts Legacy. And we've been messaging back and forth about it. I have to admit, again, I'm with Brendan. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. Where we are in our age group or whatever. This is for people like 10 years younger than us that didn't jump immediately into Lord of the Rings. This is an incredible game. What they have been able to do with it, true fan experience, a great story that we've never encountered before outside the movies, even going back to what Hogwarts was in the 19th century. The mechanics are fairly simple. Yeah, there's a couple little glitches here and there, but the battle has been fantastic. With your wand use and having to remember your spells and also choosing the right one to use. I have been really impressed with it, and I'm about I think pretty close to halfway done with it. I know how it ends. I know what the overall story is. Sometimes we do cheat a little bit to get a full understanding of it.
don't tell me.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. But, right now, I mean, it's a very strong contender for Game of the Year. And I know we've got a lot of good stuff coming out, and that's why I was saying earlier that I think it'll be kind of a contentious debate about what we consider to be the best game this year. If it had come out last fall, it would have wiped the floor with everything else. It would have been easily the best game. But even if you're not a huge Harry Potter fan, it's one worth diving into. And the fact that you can have multiple people playing their stories, on the same game, on the same console. For me, I can't wait to go back and play it and be a different character in a different house. I did the Harry Potter fan club thing and finally got sorted and found out this week that I am Slytherin. So, but I love Muggles and I don't want to take over the world. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I'm a Ravenclaw. My wife's a Hufflepuff. So, Chad, does that mean you're in Gryffindor?
Am I Gryffindor? Shit, I don't know.
Chad's like, do I have to go do and get sorted? Yeah. But no, our full review and article about this game will be coming out in a couple of weeks. But if you're kind of on the fence about whether you should buy it, go do it. Now, with that said, I know a lot of people are not going to because they feel like it's supporting J.K. Rowling and her, anti-trans views. And I've seen a lot of chatter on social media about that. Because she created this world, if you buy something that she didn't write, you're still supporting her and her views. I feel like I should just say this, that we can separate the two. We don't have to support her views, but we can still support this world that other people have come and created stories in.
Also, if this game does well, there's this narrative out there that if this game does well, she makes more money. That's not how game licensing works.
Yeah.
The license has been paid. Whatever money she was going to get from this, she has already received.
Yeah.
So that ship has already sailed. The only people you are hurting are the employees of this game studio. And they're like, well, they don't get paid if it does better. Yes, they do.
Yeah, they
get
do.
bonuses, and they get paid in sequels, which means job security, because most of these idiots ranting don't realize how transitory by nature the video game industry is. And to have a job that lasts more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, a sequel means job security for 5 more years.
Yeah.
So when you're saying this is only going to help them, and it's not going to or only going to help J.K. Rowling, and it's not going to hurt the game developers, you are exactly wrong. You're pushing a narrative that is completely 180 degrees wrong, and you're an idiot. So stop doing it, okay? Number one. Number two, if that is the narrative, and it was true, let's say for a moment that was true, I'm going to need everybody out there to sell their Volkswagen. I'm going to need everybody out there to sell their Mercedes-Benz and their BMWs. I'm going to need everybody out there to sell their Fords because, hey, Henry Ford was a Nazi sympathizer. Okay, so he was an anti-Semite. So I'm going to need all of you people who had anything, who are now currently owning anything from a company that had anything remotely to do with the Nazi party, to get rid of it. Let's see how quickly that happens. Oh, that's right. It's not. You want to know why? Because it's got nothing to do with it now.
And I'm glad Brendan took the cue on this one as the angry Irishman to set everybody straight. I couldn't have said it better.
Well said, man.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, then I suggest you play a lovely game of hide and go fuck yourself.
No one's telling you if you want to if you don't want to play it personally because you think it supports it or whatever, and you're supporting her, that's fine. That's your choice.
But don't jump up on Twitch and harass Twitch streamers. Don't.
Right.
Don't get on social media and harass other people because they want to enjoy something. That shit makes.
Yeah, that pisses me.
I understand the argument, and we've discussed it as a staff and all that. I mean, we don't force anybody to buy this game if they feel like it. It's supporting transphobia or whatever. That we would never do that. Okay, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable playing a game, not gonna force them to do that. We switch assignments and stuff. The other thing is, we're nerd culture. We support anybody to be whoever they want to be. It's a very inclusive culture. Okay, even if we're not a fan of something, we don't have to support her and her views, and we don't. Okay, but we can still enjoy the world that she created, that other writers have created stories in. And that's what this is. And what Brendan said, don't ruin the chance for further games down the road because of one, crazy person that you disagree with.
Right.
So, there's some evidence to suggest that Walt Disney was a little bit of an anti-Semite, and I don't see anybody trading in their Disney card. Okay, so get off your high horse, people. It's like I can't stand the people that start protesting, have all these ridiculous protests that have nothing to do with
all of these people shouldn't be named to sit and watch PCU. Jeremy Piven.
Oh my
Because
god,
they're like the ones at the end. We're not gonna protest. They're protesting that they're not gonna protest.
Right.
The PCU has predicted the society we live in. It just didn't know about social media.
Yeah, another good example about not supporting her, but still, enjoying Harry Potter. The 20th anniversary special they did on HBO Max. She wasn't invited. She wasn't there. But the rest of the cast who got to share their stories and their experiences and all that, that's what made that special better. And they all got to, voice their opinions that we don't have to support her. But, she did create wonderful characters in a wonderful world with lots of lore. And, let other writers take the helm and start, creating within that world. You can send her away with her millions of dollars or whatever she's worth now. Like, well, you've made your money. Go write your crappy mystery thrillers that you want to do now that in the world can ignore you and ignore your Twitter account. So, by the way,
if you don't want to ignore her,
yeah,
because I don't care.
No, that's the thing. We don't, and we're still going to enjoy the game while still being inclusive and not anti-trans. So, by the way, I know there's some trans people out there that are probably very much loving the game and are like, we don't have to support her, but we can still enjoy this. So, anyway, our rant is done for the day of that. The game is definitely worth the money. So our recommendation, go buy it. Even if you're not a huge fan, but if you're a Harry Potter fan, I know so many people that love Harry Potter but don't necessarily have a console. I mean, even a good friend of mine's like, I can play it on PC. Where can I pirate it?
I will say this: if you've got a PC or a current gen console, do yourself a favor and play it on PC or current gen console. Do not wait for it to come out on a last gen console or the Switch, because I can guarantee you it's either going to be so dumbed down that it's not even going to resemble the full game, or it's going to run like a pile of hot dog shit in a freaking New York City summer. It's going to be terrible. The game is too big, too pretty to run effectively on those systems. They don't have the power.
Well,
and I love the Switch, but it's not designed for games like this.
I can't. And they're already even saying it's like, well, we've got it ready for the Switch. We're trying to fix the rendering to be on the console. I'm like, you shouldn't even be attempting to do it in the first place. It's like putting the Elder Scrolls on there. It's not powerful enough. We're not knocking the Switch for what it is. There's a lot of great games. And I know, Chad, you dive more into the games on the Switch and love it and all that.
I do kind of knock Nintendo for the Switch. Like, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree about it being good for what it is. But I blame Nintendo for being only good for what it is, because there is no reason they couldn't have put more powerful hardware in there.
Okay, well, probably. But Chad, here's my question. Are you going to play a game like this on the Switch?
No.
Yeah.
No, but I don't have a next gen console either. I've only got an Xbox One X and a PS4 Pro. I don't have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So,
I mean, I'd be curious to see what it is. For my niece and nephew who have a, PS4 Pro, they're probably not going to mind it as much or, be as picky about it. But I also know that they know I have, and they're like, when is spring break so we can get dropped off for a week and play video games? I'm like, that's about right.
yeah, I was on the fence on getting it, but after what Brendan said, it sounds to me like I just need to just wait till I get a better console.
No,
and I'll get Metroid Prime reboot instead.
I mean, if you're going to do it right, yes, do it on the Series X. I'm glad I'm doing it on Xbox. I feel like the hardware would be a little bit better for this game. Not to take away from the PS5, especially because I'm playing. I played Horizon Forbidden West on there, and I will probably get Jedi Survivor on the PS5 since that's where I've played all the Star Wars games. But yeah, you need that kind of hardware to really get the full effect of it. So, but anyway, moving right along. Yeah, we've got a lot of good things coming out. We still do not have an official date for Starfield. We know it's going to be a day one Game Pass game. We did get a date for Redfall, and that will be May 2nd or May 3rd.
And I think that's going to be a fun game for the staff to play as a group. I actually will get online for that and play that. And I know me making
we're going to hold you to that.
Yeah, I will play. But and then the other thing is well, I will say this I'm putting my money on one of two dates for Starfield. And I told you this the other day. If you look at the release schedule, there are only 2 weeks that are open and don't either have a first party Xbox game or a third party game that closely resembles Starfield gameplay, either that it's sci-fi or it's an RPG, first person, whatever. Those 2 dates are April 4th and July 7th. And if I had to bet, I would bet July 7th, just because it's a massive game and it gives them more time to clean it up. And it also gives them time to properly, do a big push for marketing. And it's at the beginning of a quarter that is generally a slow quarter for video game sales.
Well, the other thing too is with such a huge game, you need to release something like that in the summer where not really anything else is coming out and people have time to play it.
Well, that's from a fan standpoint, yes, but from a business standpoint, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense because traditionally that quarter, the July, August, September, that's the fourth quarter of the fiscal year. That's a very slow quarter for gaming and game revenues. It would allow them to finish their fiscal year on a very high note. So it makes too much sense. It's a win for everybody. It's a win for gamers because the game gets polished and it comes out with nothing around it. It's a win for the business because they're going to sell a shit ton of copies in a time of year they normally wouldn't be selling a shit ton of copies. It just makes too much sense. So if I had to bet money on when Starfield's going to come out, I'm going to say July 7th.
Well, all I know is if you're going to do video game releases, even kind of close to each other, this is the one thing you don't do. 2016, you released Dishonored 2, Final Fantasy 15, and Assassin's Creed Origins, all within 10 days of each other. All huge, massively huge games. Okay, well, at least with Final Fantasy 15 and Origins, which was easily putting 100 hours into a goddamn game. It's like, how do you figure out, judge these games properly when you don't have time to play them? I mean, but that's my little rant about that. So like, if you just spread it out a little bit, okay, and give us time to get through a game, then, it makes things easier. So that's why I'm glad Jedi Survivor is hitting April, because there really isn't anything else coming out and we can solely focus on that. And it gives me time to get through Resident Evil 4, the remake. Now, Chad, I know you're really looking forward to that, aren't you?
I am, but again, I think it's next gen console only. I haven't seen where it's even going to be available on the Xbox One X.
I'm pretty sure it is. I could have sworn the
I thought it would be too, but it seemed like whenever I looked it up, I didn't see a listing for it on the Xbox One X and the PS4. It's PS5 and Series X only.
Well, we'll definitely confirm that because that sounds a little off.
I know it did to me too. I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, well,
because with all the remakes that they have been doing, I mean, even
according to Wikipedia, it will release March 24th, and it is going to be on the PS4, the PS5, Windows, and Xbox Series X and S, but it will not be on the Xbox One. I don't know why, but that's what they're listing.
See,
that's because they have a better relationship
with Sony than they do with Microsoft.
Yeah. Which I play all my Resident Evil stuff on the PlayStation anyway.
See, and all my Resident Evil stuff is on the freaking Xbox.
Well, I don't know, Chad. I think you're just going to have to get the Series X.
Believe me, I want to.
Well, like I said, we did. I'll get you the information from Aaron. You $35 a month. You can no interest. You can get the Xbox Series X. And that's $20 a month goes to the console, and $15 a month goes to Game Pass Ultimate.
Not bad.
Yeah,
that's what we did.
So yeah, it's still cheaper than even with them having more PS5s now. Although I have seen people during inflation like throw stuff on Facebook, sell them a PS5 for $385, like the display. I'm like, really? Wow. I mean, I've seen a couple that even still been on there for like for multiple weeks. I'm like, I figured people would be trying to snatch that up.
We're going to treat ourselves at Christmas, and we're going to use the cash rewards from our credit card to buy a PS5.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of video games and adaptations and everything, the big thing that we are watching right now is the Last of Us series on HBO Max. Now, I know Brendan doesn't really care and hasn't even started watching, but this one's for me and Chad to dive into a discussion. I've been loving the discussion on social media with friends about this game. So I don't know how many of our audience out there has actually played The Last of Us. I was late to it. Everybody who knows me knows that I have this 10-year period where I didn't really play video games, maybe even a little bit longer. And then, I finally started doing a lot more and really going back and playing games when we started doing more coverage on them. So I finally got around to playing The Last of Us for the first time, actually 2020, during the pandemic, the early days. I went through it for the first time, and then I went through it again. So I'm actually playing it on my third run, a little bit after each episode, to coincide with the overall story and really to kind of pay attention to the details that they got right. I mean, just the little things. And I think that's a great tribute to, Neil Druckmann, who, did that game and is also directing this series and is one of the showrunners. But it has been incredible. 4 episodes in, it's a little slow, but I've been overly impressed. Now, Chad, I want to ask you this first. Have you played The Last of Us, the game?
Never.
Okay.
Nope. I've got it, but I've never played it.
Okay. So you're just keeping up with the show.
Right.
All right. What do you think so far?
Judging from everything that I've seen people saying that it's one of the most faithful adaptations as far as respecting the source material, but still managing to expand on it and tell parts of the story that weren't fully fleshed out in the game.
Yeah.
Just from a narrative standpoint, it's stunning. Yeah. It's a great watch. It's engrossing. It's got my wife hooked, and she's not a gamer at all, to say the least. It's just a fascinating story. I am, much like Brendan, I am zombied, no pun intended here. I am zombied to fucking death. When I was like, I don't need another zombie show, but it's really not a zombie show if you really want to get down to it. I mean, granted, they are infected, but it's not like they're a zombie. It's kind of hard to describe. But I just like, here we go with another Walking Dead clone. I don't need this shit in my life. And at that first episode, I'm like, okay, you've got me. I'm sucked in completely.
Yeah.
And not even Game of Thrones could do that for me. Like when I started Game of Thrones back when it was first on, I got past the first episode. I'm like, I've got no interest in this show at all. And then I kept getting pushed. No, you got to get a couple episodes in before it really takes off. I'm like, well, that's stupid, but all right. And they were right, and I got into it and I dug it. But with this, you're hooked by halfway through for episode 1. You're like, holy shit, this is very well done.
I will say this, and Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's an analogy. The Walking Dead has become to zombie shows, and when it comes to oversaturation, what the CW did for superhero shows. Like, you start out kind of liking it, it's great or whatever, but then you keep throwing so much fucking stuff out there and all these other shows, and then they cross over, and it's like, at some point, you're just like, I'm done. I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
And I think
it collapses under its own weight. I'm just like,
yeah, I did, the first 5, 6 seasons of Arrow, and then I was out.
Same here.
I can't do this. I did the crossovers, did 2 or 3 seasons of The Flash. I was out. Never watched Supergirl, Lightning Man, or whatever the hell it was, or
Black Lightning. Yeah, never watched that.
Black Lightning, whatever. Just like I was like, I can't do it anymore. There's too much you have to keep up with. And it's the same with The Walking Dead. Like, when they got to Negan, I'm like, I'm done. I don't even really care. I know he's going to have a redemption story and blah, 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 blah. And I try to start some of the offshoots. I don't even know how many offshoot stories there are anymore. I think I've watched a few episodes of Tales of the Walking Dead, like some of the individual stories. The one with Terry Crews and Olivia Munn, where they're the preppers who kind of meet each other. That was entertaining. But at the end of the day, it's like, or you get the backstory of Alpha. But it's like, I'm done. The Walking Dead killed zombies at this point. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. Whenever they started Fear the Walking Dead, and when they got to that point in the season where they were on the boat, and I'm rooting for the fucking boat to sink, because I literally hate everybody on this show. When you're cheering for the zombies to win, you screwed up. I know. You screwed up. You've lost your audience. And I was like, yeah, I'm out.
So I get why we're all done with zombies. I mean, I think the only thing that you could bring me back to zombies is if Simon Pegg and Nick Frost decided we should do Shaun of the Dead 2. And you're like, I'm not crazy with the idea, but it's because of you two, I'll watch it. Although I would much rather have a sequel to Hot Fuzz, but still, that's just me. I think because it's a different. This way,
I'll watch a zombie movie again if George Romero comes back from the dead as a zombie and stars and directs.
Brendan has standards. I like this one because it's a different kind of infected, and excuse me. One of the things they've done with the first 4 episodes is all of these flashbacks. They have told more of the backstory. Like episode 3. No, it wasn't episode 3. Episode 2, when they dealt with the scientist from India, where it really originated, and they're like, they're asking her, what do we do now? We can't find these other 14 people. Bomb the city.
Yeah,
bomb everybody in the city. That's the only way you're going to kill it. But how many different ways do we need to keep telling zombie stories? Do we really need more fucking zombie games? I think, for us as gamers, Days Gone kind of killed that.
Yeah.
I don't hate the game as much as you guys do, but even I'm like, God damn, I can't do another one. But The Last of Us.
And don't get it twisted. That's the only reason that I really didn't like it. I'm just like, we have done this shit to death. I mean, like, it doesn't interest me anymore. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. If that's the narrative that I've got to play through to play this game, I'm out. I'm out.
No. let's come up with, something else. Some kind of other Stephen King story or whatever. But the way these people are infected, and you're not so much, it's not really about fighting them. I think they're kind of the afterthought. It's fighting the tribalism more than anything else. It's the different groups of people that they're encountering all along the way, because you're getting the patriot groups that are rising up against, the New World Order. And you really kind of got that story with episode 3 with Bill and Frank's story. And by the way, fucktards out there complaining about, Nick Offerman playing a gay character and he's a survivalist, and no way. He was like, there are survivalists out there that are patriots like his character that are gay. You probably don't want to admit it, but there are. Okay. So
I'm sorry. That is some of the best television I've seen in months.
Yeah.
That was some of the best writing I've seen in years.
Oh,
I was blown away.
Span that story over 20 years to show how they met, what his purpose was. And this is a bit of a spoiler. If you're not caught up and you've never played the game, this is one of those things where I'm glad they deviated.
Yeah.
Because you don't really get their backstory in the game. You encounter Bill a little bit.
What the heck was that?
Helping them to get car parts to escape, and then you come across Frank, who kills himself and he's stealing shit and whatever. But you don't flesh it out as much as you do in that episode, and why and who they are and why they did what they did. And for them to pull a Romeo and Juliet and die together, and it was romantic, it was sweet.
It was beautiful, what it was.
Yeah. I wish that, because the interactions between Ellie and Bill in the game were great, and I wish they had kind of had that. But them coming afterwards and her exploring the house, and also in this last episode where she discovers the men's nudie magazine in the car, and literally the question, which is straight from the game, hey, why are these pages stuck together?
I died. He's like, what?
Yeah. And you talk about the source material, how faithful it is. I mean, they're literally pulling the exact dialogue from the game.
Is the diarrhea joke in the game?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, actually, no. Well,
that killed me. That freaking killed me.
Where am I? Where did I pick? Where did I leave off? I think they're about to get out of the city. The black father and son, they're meeting them a little too early in the series compared to the game. So I have to remember. But yeah, the joke was funny. And I just...
His reaction to it was what was so funny.
I don't consider it so much a zombie show as a show about, is much more of just a post-apocalyptic world and what the world will become and people trying to survive. The zombies are an afterthought.
Right.
I also kind of like how they're telling all of these stories a little bit better than The Walking Dead. I mean, you got to the end of The Walking Dead, and it was, there was another dictator that rose up that they all banded together to take down. How many? You kill one dictator, another one pops up.
Hail Hydra.
Those phallic yams.
I know. But I don't feel like it's so much of a dictator as it's just, tribes trying to survive and come together. And also Melanie Linsky, who I never really consider a badass so much. And I love her as an actress. I do not get me wrong.
Come a long way from Detroit Rock City, hadn't she?
Right. But I also forgot about the movie Heavenly Creatures, her very first movie with Kate Winslet, where they were the teenage girls who, killed the mother. And I didn't even realize that was based on a true story until I was looking up some facts about her. I was like, really? That's a true story?
Yeah, and that where Peter Jackson kind of made his bones?
Yeah, that was his first movie. But her in episode 4, this latest episode, her kind of being a badass and just walking back to the doctor and like, nope. I'm like, good for you. Because, we think of her, and I can't say anything about Yellow Jackets because I haven't gotten into it yet. But, when we look at Millie Linsky, we always think of her as like two things. She's the redneck girl from high school in Sweet Home Alabama who brings a baby to a bar, and she plays the crazy stalker in 2.5 Men. So we think of her as kind of sweet, innocent, a little bit crazy, not so much the tribe leader. Anyway, I'm rambling about this, but I've just been ultimately impressed how great the series is so far, and what they're doing. And yeah, I encourage people, go play the game along with it. I have a whole new kind of perspective on the game because again, the Chevy S10 right down to the colors is exactly from the game. The shirt that Joel is wearing when they leave, exactly from the game. The music is a little bit different. I kind of like their choices of music. I mean, that was not only was it a great love letter to Bill and Frank, the Linda Ronstadt song, but anyway, there's just so much to love about it, and I can't wait to see where they go and how they finally end season 1. Do they really end it like they do in the game where he, rescues Ellie from the hospital? I think if I have one minor complaint, and it's just nitpicking, I love Pedro Pascal in this. And by the way, something that we all learned this week, thanks to Chad, apparently he's a huge Prince fan. So your Scooby points went way up with us as fans. If you had come out and said that Prince was overrated, I'm not saying we still wouldn't watch The Mandalorian, but we would be suspect of you.
Right.
He is good, but I miss Troy Baker's voice from the game, who who is a Texan and has that Southern drawl. You just don't really get that with Pedro Pascal. And it's kind of the same thing that, when watching the Uncharted movie, I kept hearing, Nolan North's voice in my head every time that Tom Holland was saying something. And it just drove me nuts in that movie because that's all I wanted to, to hear. And it's the same thing with, I don't want to hear.
Still haven't seen that.
Yeah. No reason to. It's like what we talked about when we were talking about Batman last year. There's only one voice you hear in your head when you're reading a Batman comic, and that's Kevin Conroy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, if you haven't gotten on to The Last of Us, you've got 4 great episodes. They tell a hell of a backstory about how it started, what makes, these zombies or these creatures different, and those clickers. I mean, yeah, dude, that makes playing the game even a lot more scary because when you start to hear that sound, and there's just parts in there, it's like there's no way to get around the clickers. You just hope you have enough shotgun shells because that's the only thing that's gonna take them fucking down.
I'll be spending this evening watching the newest 3 episodes of The Legend of Vox Machina.
Yes, and the new season is out finally.
It's the 3rd arc dropped today, so I'll be watching that.
Something else, a couple of other things to check out that we've started with this year. First, for anybody that grew up in the 90s, if you are a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, Sarah Michelle Gellar has a new series called Wolfpack that's on Paramount Plus. And a couple of episodes in, yes, it's about werewolves. Maybe they've been done to death. I don't really care. But tell me who hates Sarah Michelle Gellar? Can you honestly hate her? Has she done really anything kind of bad? I mean, I think it's awesome that, her and her husband, Freddie Prinze Jr., have been together for 20 years and they do voice work on the same shows, Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah.
So, and she still looks good. So, any series that you're going to do, we're going to check out. I mean, am I wrong about her?
Not that I can recall.
Man, I don't. I
Don't ruin one of my.
I'm not ruining it. I mean, yeah, I mean, she's okay. I don't hate anything she's done. I don't know if I just don't like run off to anything she's done either.
Well,
so
you get that. Also, coming to Amazon, for those that may not remember the show Carnival Row with Orlando Bloom and Cara Delevingne, if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, about the Fae and kind of a steampunk world. And Orlando Bloom plays a detective. They are coming back with a season 2 starting next Friday, and it will be the final season. We can't give you a review yet. I have not started it, and I think Allison is finishing it up right now. So if you were a fan of the first season, that show, season 2 and the final season is coming out. One more show on Amazon. Did any of you guys watch Hunters?
yeah, I watched the second season. It was I watched both, but yeah, I got around to watching the second season.
I never finished the first season.
Okay.
But yeah, well, the first season, the end of the first season has quite the twist to it.
Yeah.
But the second season, it was okay. Honestly, I felt the flashbacks were there just so they could keep Al Pacino in the show.
Yeah.
I honestly really didn't think they were necessary, other than to have Al. Like, and I get it, it's Al fucking Pacino. You got him, you might as well use him.
Right.
But yeah, I thought to this, I thought the flashbacks added things to a point, but I thought they were overused and got in the way of the narrative of the present.
Yeah.
I think you could have cut the flashback run times in half and let us focus on the present a little more, and then just give us the important snippets from the flashbacks that we needed. But yeah, other than that, I think I gave season 1 an 8. I'd probably give season 2 a 7.
I kind of feel the same way. I'm glad they wrapped it up. The way the twist was at the end of the season, and because I mean, the season 2 is, yes, Hitler is still alive and played by Udo Kier, who
oh my god,
hang out with and meet a couple years ago at the Oak Cliff Film Festival.
For those of you who don't know who that is, if you remember the original Blade, he was Dragonetti, the head pure blood vampire.
So he's played a lot of great villains over the years.
Actually does an admirable job as Hitler, which is kind of a weird sentence to say out loud. I know. I grant you, it felt odd coming out of my mouth. I don't think I liked it, but yeah, it's still a true statement.
It doesn't really feel like a compliment, even though it kind of is. Man, you played a really good Hitler. I mean,
thanks.
Yes, I try.
For me, he'll always be, it wasn't acting, it was real. When we saw him at that screening of Swan Song. Oh my God. We'll tell you that story some other time. Bro.
Yeah, I mean, he was just kind of all over the place at Oak Cliff. And why not? I mean, he was a lot of fun and very much a queen. And the movie was great. I very much enjoyed it. But yeah, he did an admirable job, and I'm glad they finished it up, because that's another show. It's like you could have had 2 or maybe a couple more seasons and really milked it for all it's worth. But at the end of the day, your story is about hunting Nazis and finding out the truth about Hitler.
And what? Yeah, like honestly, they would have had to have, like if you're gonna go straight to Hitler, like the story's over, right? Like if you were gonna go, okay, first we're gonna find like the next big bad of season two is gonna be Himmler,
Yeah.
and you're gonna kind of work your way up the
Or Mengele or some
yeah,
shit.
yeah, like if you did Mengele and then Himmler and then finally you got to Hitler, okay, you probably could have milked a couple more seasons out of it. But especially if you're going to jump straight to Hitler, yeah, that's kind of the end of the story. Like
Yeah.
where are you going to go from there?
And you know what? I mean, having kind of a an operation finale type of story where you do capture him and you do hold him accountable and he, gets tried for everything. He's just a raving lunatic in prison at the end of it. I mean, we're giving some spoilers, but everybody did a great job.
And
Wrapping
let's
it
be
up.
honest, there is really a spiritual successor to this, a spiritual sequel to this already. It's called Black Klansman.
By the way, I still think that's one of the best miscarriages of justice, when it comes to the Oscars. For everybody that says that Green Book was, was really the true best movie of that year, I'm like, you guys exaggerated so many details in that movie.
Well, not only that, but come on, I mean, it's really just a buddy cop version of Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, that's all. I'm not taking away from Marshawn Ali and Viggo Mortensen. They were great in the movie. But Black Klansman was a fucking phenomenal movie. And the Academy needs to pull their head out of their ass and just give Spike Lee the award for Best Director and make one of his films Best Picture. I mean, do the right thing.
Well, and I don't even like Spike Lee, generally speaking, but that one actually deserved it. Like, I've never been a Spike Lee fan. I think he's a melodramatic little twerp, like sending black roses to the opposing teams. I mean, come on, shut up.
Brendan, you're a Celtics fan. I'm a Bulls fan. We
both hate the Knicks. Yeah, 100%. Like I get that, but like I've never been a huge fan of his movies, but I thoroughly enjoyed Black Klansman. That movie was freaking awesome. It was hilarious.
I am hit or miss on his movies. I mean, Alex and I kind of debate what our favorite movie is, and I always go to like He Got Game. That's my favorite Spike Lee movie, being a basketball fan, and Ray Fisher did an incredible job. Not really being an actor, in that movie, and I think it was very true to life. And of course, Denzel was amazing. And the funny story about that movie is when they were shooting.
Ray Allen.
Sorry. God.
You said Ray Fisher. That was Cyborg.
Sorry. Ray Allen. Thank you for correcting me.
Threw me off there for a minute. I'm like, Ray Fisher, was he like 12 when that came out? Like what?
I know. But when they were shooting the park scene at night, when they were playing against each other, the father and the son, Ray Allen was not really doing much. They were just trying to shoot scenes, and Denzel Washington got up like 5 points, like 5 baskets on him because he was playing for real, and that made Ray Allen mad. And he's like, "Oh no, this ain't happening." And that's when he kicked into 3-point mode. And the story goes, Denzel Washington never got another shot after that. I'm like, I could totally believe that. But I mean, Inside Man was another entertaining movie. The Denzel and Clive Owen, the bank hostage movie. But yeah, Black Klansman.
Denzel tells a great Sean Connery story, and it's from the year Sean Connery won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in The Untouchables. And he goes, yeah, I was up that year, and Sean Connery gets up to present an award, and they gave this man a 3-minute standing ovation, and I started heading for the coats because I knew I wasn't going to get it.
Yeah.
But he goes, I saw the spread they had out for the after party, and I did not leave that place empty-handed.
I've heard that story too. Well, I mean, and as much as I love Sean Connery and the Untouchables, or he was presenting, it was like Denzel really did kind of deserve it for Glory. It's like,
well, that was a different year, and he did win it for Glory.
Yeah, that was his first Oscar.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. Never mind.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, there's that. I don't know what's going to happen with the Oscars. I'm sure we'll completely disagree, but they're here in about a month. So, but again, I'm kind of circling back and like, you know what? Let's just give it to Top Gun. Everybody I've talked to, we were at John Wildman's Christmas party, who's a publicist friend of ours, and one of a woman we know, she does a lot of producing work on a lot of films here in Dallas, artistic writer and everything. Even she was like, God damn, I'm not even a Top Gun fan, and I really enjoyed that movie. Exactly. Because it was a fun movie. All right, we're going to wrap this up a little bit. Just kind of looking at what we're, things that we're looking forward to and the things that have already kind of come out. When we get back, we'll be able to talk about Cocaine Bear, because we're going to have to see that movie, definitely. Creed 3, which I'm not really that excited about that movie. I kind of feel like Creed's story was over when he beat Drago's son, and it's kind of hard to do a Creed movie without Rocky. But you know what? I want to go and support it because Michael B. Jordan directed it, and it does look entertaining. So there's that. And speaking of Taylor Sheridan stuff that's in his universe that's going on, we do want to touch on 1923 did come back this past week after like a 3 or 4 week hiatus. And let's just be honest, we're all loving that show, aren't we?
I didn't realize it came back because I thought it was good. I thought they were breaking until after the Super Bowl. So I guess they dropped. I wonder if they'll do I wonder if they'll take a week off this week, and they just dropped one on the Pro Bowl because they know nobody gives a shit about the Pro Bowl.
That reminds me, The Last of Us is dropping on Friday. It's dropping tomorrow night this week.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was going to wrap it up with that, with news.
I'm sorry.
No. We do want audiences to know that they are dropping that episode early. In answer to your question, no, they're finishing out the next 4 episodes in a row. It's an 8-episode season.
Right. Just like 1883 was.
Right. Well, actually, 1883 did do 10 episodes, but
I thought it was 8.
Yeah, kind of feels like that. But anyway, they're doing 8 episodes, and then they're going to do their second season to wrap up the overall story. But yeah, 1923.
Oh, so 1923 is going to get a second season?
Yeah.
They already.
Oh, I thought it was just a one-shot season like 1883 was.
When they originally wanted to do the show, they wanted to do 2 seasons.
Oh.
To focus on Spencer Dutton, him getting back, and then all the stuff that they're going to end up doing, trying to save the ranch in 1923, 1924.
I heard that the next one's going to be 1963 with John as a teenager.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I thought they announced today it was going to be 1944.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
They have a bunch of things in the works. There's all sorts of stuff happening in the Taylor Sheridan universe, which is bringing me around to something else that's happening that I wanted to close out the show with. But anyway, speaking of 1923, very much looking forward to this because shit is about to get real when Spencer gets home. So, I mean, and I am loving Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford in this. Great casting choices. But I'm also at the point, it's like, why don't we just let the men sit this one out? Because I'm pretty sure Helen Mirren can just take them. And it's the one time that I'm actually rooting for Braun's death. Sorry, I still call him Braun. I mean, I know his name is Jerome Flynn.
Jerome Flynn, yeah.
Yeah. But we're also kind of like, it's also the one time two guys that I love as actors and 2 characters I love they played. I'm rooting for Braun and James Bond's death.
Every time I see Jerome Flynn, I see the scene in Game of Thrones where he goes, "That wasn't a threat. That was me talking to my nephew. Braun, the next time Sir Meryn speaks, kill him." Now, see, that was a threat. You see the difference?
Right. Well, the big news that came out this week is it looks like Kevin Costner will be done with Yellowstone after season 5. There's been a shakeup with his scheduling. we're kind of
Probably a
set.
good spot to end that. If you're going to get him out of there,
Well, this is kind of what we've been able to confirm what's happening. He wanted to only film for like 50 days because he has his Western project Horizon, and they're needing him for 65 days. It's this whole thing, and I think he's also wanting a little bit more money because of the popularity of the show. So he's pretty much, I guess, going to be out of the picture and moving on from Yellowstone after season 5. I mean, who knows how this is going to end? But the story that they're telling is they're going to be bringing in Matthew McConaughey as some kind of character to kind of lead Yellowstone. And I'm like, as what? Is he like the illegitimate son or something? We haven't confirmed anything, so I'm just going based off the press releases and stuff that we're getting.
don't get me wrong, I like Matthew McConaughey. I just don't think that's a fit.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Yellowstone as a story is run its course with them trying to save the ranch in the modern
Honestly,
world.
I think they should wrap if he's going to be gone, I think they should wrap it up, or he should have like I don't know, maybe look, he's been through a lot, he's been shot, whatever. Maybe the stress of running the state of Montana, he has a heart attack. Who knows? Whatever it is, either I don't think you bring anybody else in. You just have Rip and his daughter run the ranch, or you just wrap it up.
Well, or Casey comes in because you're bringing that in. But
Right,
what
true,
I'm
yeah.
saying is, if you need to add, if you want to end the series and you want to add closure, then end the series where it's at, and then just do a movie for Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Wrap it up that way. Kind of the same thing that Netflix did for Sense8. They weren't going to do another season, but they needed to wrap it all up, so they did a movie. And there isn't many stories that you get to tell, really beyond that anyway, because when it comes to, running the ranch and how they're going to, take it into the future and stuff, it's always going to come back to Casey taking over, Casey and Rip and all of that, and Beth with her business mind, as we have seen. I mean, Jamie is Fredo, so I doubt he makes it out alive at this point. But so I mean, it's sad, but you're kind of coming to the end of it. I don't know how much more you can really do and how many more stories. You've had 5 great years. You're about at that point where you're going to jump the shark. So now you focus on all of the other series. And here's the thing: when it comes to the flashbacks, Josh Lucas has been great as the younger Dutton, John Dutton, in telling that backstory of how Rip came to the ranch and how Rip got branded and his devotion and what happened. There's many more things that you can do with those characters. Okay. And quite frankly, I wouldn't mind seeing a younger John Dutton and dealing with his father and getting married and all of that. So there's just a lot more that you can tell. You've told this story. So anyway, with that said, so well, a couple of things that we want to wrap up. Willow. Yeah, that was
a thing.
Yeah, that was a thing on Disney Plus.
It was a thing that was filmed and released.
That
And I'm not sure anybody watched it because it didn't sniff the Nielsen ratings.
No, I mean, Allison liked it. She gave kind of a more positive review than we did. But best thing I can say is my recut of the trailer with the Beverly Hills 90210 theme song is accurate. And it's if writers from the CW came over and decided to do Willow.
Look, I was out on this show when they showed the first trailer, and the girl who everybody would later find out is the main character had a quiver of arrows, and all of the arrows were carbon fiber arrows with plastic fletching. And I'm like, it's supposed to be set in a medieval time frame. Why do you have arrows that you can get at Dick's Sporting Goods? like the props department, if the props department doesn't give a fuck about the show, why should I? Like it's Disney. Like they've got the money to get the wooden arrows with the feather fletching. Like
Right.
it's there. It's in the budget. Like we know it
Damn
is.
it, Brendan, you're not supposed to notice things like that and ruin it for the fans.
Yeah. If
What
Amazon couldn't get it right with the armor on freaking Rings of Power, why would we expect Disney to get it right with
the printed Under Armour t-shirts?
Right. Yeah.
Here's my main problem about nerd culture, and versus the writer's room. If you're not going to get people who are fans who understand the lore to write for your shows, and you're just putting together a team of writers that sort of understand it, don't start.
Or in the case of The Witcher, actively dislike and mock the source material.
Yeah.
Which is why Bo DeMeo, when he left The Witcher to go work on X-Men 97 for Disney Plus, he said when he interviewed writers for his team, the first question is, did you watch the original X-Men cartoon and are you a fan of it? And if the answer was no to both of those questions, then you didn't get hired.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, sir.
Yeah. I understand if you want to be a Hollywood writer and all that, but stay in your lane. Know what you're good at and don't try to write for another show.
Well, and especially when you have such a passionate fan base, like you should pretty much write like perfect example. Many years ago at a con, Stephen King and John Grisham were doing a panel together. And John Grisham says, a good writer writes about what they know, what's in their heart and in their soul. And he goes, and that's what truly scares me about Stephen. And Stephen King replied to that by saying, John, I'll reply to that remark the way I've always replied to such remarks. I have the heart of a 5-year-old boy, and it's in a jar on my desk. So like you've got to be like, especially when you have a property that has such a passionate fan base, whether it's The Witcher, Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever it is, you have to match that passion. Like you have to be a competent writer, 100%. Like,
right.
You don't want me writing the next Star Wars movie. I'm not a good writer. I'm a good idea guy. Like I can give a good writer ideas to work with, but you don't want me writing dialogue. Okay. So like Marcus and I would be a good team because I could come up with an idea and he could actually write it. Okay. Right. But you don't want me writing dialogue. The same point, you don't want my wife writing Star Wars because even though she's a very competent writer, she's not a Star Wars fan.
Right.
So, you want her writing Star Trek because she is a competent writer who knows all the ins and outs of Star Trek and is just as passionate as the fan base. So she knows that there's a piece of the transporter because there's a scientist called by the name of Heisenberg who postulated that you cannot transport living matter and reassemble it. So she knows that the key piece of equipment in the transporter assembly in Star Trek is called the Heisenberg compensator. She knows that shit. You need to be that person when you're writing properties like this.
Right. I will give you a story. Years ago, we interviewed David Levithan. Who, he wrote the book. He actually wrote the book and helped write the screenplay for Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. And it wasn't that movie we were reviewing. It was kind of a teenage drama thing. Everyday something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was one of those things where I as the editor, I took one for the team and I went and reviewed, and we were doing interviews with him the next day. I didn't know that he wrote that part of the job that he got contracted to do was to write Star Wars books. Okay. And we talked about that. And, we talked about the idea that, yes, sometimes you get contracted to write a book that you're not as familiar with the world and because you're a good writer. But the other thing is he was also a fan. Okay. It's not like he went into it just to do a writing job and get paid for it. He's a fan of Star Wars. So he had passion for it and, wrote some amazing things. that's if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to at least be a fan, like Brendan is saying, don't start. This is not your lane. Stick to what you're good at. If you're Nicholas Sparks and you want to write crappy romantic, totally fiction, this would never happen in the real world stories, fine. Know your audience. Okay. And I got no problem with writing a book like The Notebook, and then making a movie of it and then became, starring Ryan Gosling. I'm not going to watch it. And hopefully I don't have to watch it, with a girlfriend, and she understands that, and I won't make her watch Star Trek if she doesn't like it. But don't try to switch genres. Okay. And that's really the biggest problem that we're kind of dealing with is, with these kinds of writers. So, and it's clear that's probably what, happened with Willow, and that's what's really sad. So that's another nerd thing kind of ruined. It had all the potential in the world, and you screwed it up. And there shouldn't be a second season, but there probably will be.
Probably.
We won't watch. Now, we'll end it on this. It did have its final episode this week, the National Treasure series, which was a lot of fun and, brought back at least one of the original characters. It felt in some ways like a treasure hunt CW show, but in kind of a fun way.
Not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Hold on. I'm not knocking it. It very much had the National Treasure feel, but you're dealing with younger kids, so there's always going to be that kind of Dawson's Creek romance type thing.
Right.
It works for what it's National Treasure for a young adult audience and for people who liked the movies. And then finding the treasure was great. And of course, Catherine Zeta-Jones kind of playing the villain. Although why they made her a blonde, which is weird. But go check that out. I would actually give it like a 7. It's not great. I still like the original movies better, but it's a fun show. And
If you want a big name to be a villain and be a blonde, Charlize Theron.
Maybe, yeah.
But
just
Catherine
saying.
Zeta-Jones has a definite look, and blonde ain't it.
No, not at all. And Charlize Theron can be blonde with dreadlocks, short hair, and still look good no matter what. So, but anyway, National Treasure on Disney Plus was a fun little show if you're looking for something to watch until The Mandalorian season 3. So anyway, all right. Real quick, I'm going to end this podcast with Brendan. Since you're doing reviews on non-alcoholic craft beers, what is one that you'd like to recommend to our nerd audience?
So a couple things real quick. I just had my first shipment of Rescue Club beer come in. The IPA is good, serviceable. I've had better IPAs, but it's a good one. The Pils, however, the Pilsner was the first beer I was drinking at the beginning of the show. Fantastic. Has that classic German lager smell to it from the Pilsner malt and the noble hops. If you close your eyes, you can almost picture yourself being in a beer garden in Munich. Tomorrow, my newest episode drops. It's going to be Hangover Free Reviews, episode 10. That's Two Roots Brewing Company, Passion Fruit Pucker. You get to see me make funny faces. Also, we just crossed 100 subscribers on YouTube. So we're having our big giveaway for passing 100 subscribers. We are giving away 2 6-packs, your choice, of Rationale Brewing, my sponsors, and a Rationale Brewing t-shirt. All you have to do tomorrow is watch the show, and at the very end I will tell you how you can win, but I'm not going to tell you before because you've got to watch the video.
Well, all right. The other thing that we do is we also need to get back to making sure that that's also on that nerd show as well, like back in the day when you had your beer blog, and we'll get that taken care of shortly as well. As we get older, Brendan and I were talking about this the other day. We still love craft beer. We're just getting older, and we can't pound away 4 or 5 pints like we used to. So some of these
And-
really great non-alcoholic craft beers, I'm glad they're doing them, and they're just wonderful.
Well,
And
not
we
only
have,
that, and when you remove the alcohol from the beer, all of the good there are a lot of good things to beer, and they all get masked by the negative effects of alcohol. But beer is high in B vitamins. Beer is really good for hydration. It's really good for muscle recovery. So there, if it's good as a pre and post workout beverage. Although if you do it pre workout, make sure you have it about an hour beforehand. Otherwise, the carbonation while you're running probably not fun. But it's very beneficial and promotes healthy sleep. So if you have a non-alcoholic beer before bed, that's actually going to be really good for you, help you get to sleep faster. So yeah, there's a lot of health benefits to drinking non-alcoholic beer. And because it doesn't have the alcohol in it, it's not a diuretic. It's not going to give you a hangover, and it's not going to make you dehydrated. It's actually going to help with hydration.
And
So,
to quote Bobcat Goldthwait, you never drank a 4-pack or a 6-pack of those and then have the urge to tell a cop to blow you.
also true.
There is that.
It's funny because it's true.
Good advice. All right. Well, we'll check that out. Oh, and in case anybody's wondering, while I've got GoldenEye in the background on the classic TV, it did come to Xbox Game Pass over a week ago. So while it will never replace the original Nintendo 64 and the nostalgia we had for the game, it's been a lot of fun to go back and replay it. So thank you, Xbox Game Pass, for that. All right, Chad, what's up next for the Electric Jellyfish podcast?
Well, we are still in transit. We haven't done a show in a while because we've been under construction next door. So I've got like some of the gear still set up in here for when we do these things, but hopefully within the next week or two, praying, the construction guys come out here and actually finish the room next door. And we're gonna kick off in full swing. I'm gonna have game stations hopefully set aside for everybody at their mic station. So we're really diving into, as you well know, Marcus, we're really kind of diving into the Fortnite universe.
Yeah.
So we're kind of steering content towards doing some Fortnite stuff, and I'm real pumped about it.
You guys get that live streaming up and everything, that'll be a great thing, because we haven't done enough over the last couple of years with gaming, and we're trying to bring that back all around with you guys. And our gaming editor Omri will be bringing back a gaming show, which we'll pre-record after this show and cut up. And it's just something that we wanted to get back into like we did before the pandemic. And yeah, we've all kind of jumped into the Fortnite universe. Now, I should say that us adults, or
we use that loosely. We use that loosely.
Yeah. Only pussies play the build mode. No, we don't do build mode, but it's running as a squad in Fortnite. Even when we get killed by hackers,
housed, yeah,
it's a lot more fun than it used to be, and there's definitely a lot more to do with it. Fortnite has definitely grown.
Yeah, this is the most fun I've had with a squad, with our squad, or just anytime we've played in a group. It's the most fun I've had since probably the early days of Halo 2.
Yeah,
I haven't had this much fun playing as a group online.
Like I said, there's a lot to love about it, but I think it's better with the no build mode, where you really do have to fight as a squad and
definitely
stuff like that. So, but that doesn't take away from the other things that we like to do. And as Brenda mentioned earlier, Redfall looks like an amazing game that'll be a lot of fun to play as a squad. But we still jump back into Battlefront, nearly 6 years later. Still a lot of great modes there. Ewok Hunt is still amazing. And
might I suggest, since it's for free right now, I think it just dropped yesterday or the day before. Hot Wheels Unleashed,
yes,
is now on Game Pass. You have no excuse now.
They're getting loaded up on Ultimate Gaming Events tournament consoles this week. It is definitely a lot of fun. But as for multiplayers, I think at some point this year you can expect us to jump back in and try to hunt the Predator again, because that's still quite an amazing game. Although I don't see any Predator skins in Fortnite, and I'm going to tell you right now, I will go after anybody who has a Predator skin. You're going down.
It's one of my buddies has it, and I got the Xenomorph skin, so it's on.
Nice. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys are doing with Electric Jellyfish podcast, and again, check out Brendan's. Sorry, I am.
Just go to the Brewing Sailor on YouTube. The show is called Hangover Free Reviews.
Yes, thank you. And we'll be back in the next couple of weeks after we've got a lot of stuff going on and stuff. So just bear with us. We just want to do a podcast and get caught up with what's happening so far this year, what we're looking forward to, and kind of taking a last look at 2022. It's going to be a great year for nerds. So with that said, it is time to say goodbye.
Take care,
everybody.
Guys.